If you're hearing background noise, it's because it's raining outside of the lab that I'm in. Anyway, every single one of my guides starts from nothing. I play a few games, see what I like, see what I needed, and I usually end up with a guide in line with the typical build, just with a few quirks. But then anomalies like Chaos Knight comes along, you already saw it in the intro. And when a guide is so drastically different, basically throwing down everything typical, I have to think to myself for a bit, am I wrong? Or is everyone else wrong? That's a pretty large philosophical question. If everyone does their build and they win, and I do my build and I win, who is wrong? Chaos Knight is a fun hero. He's what Ogre Magi wishes he could be. I wrote a guide to Ogre ages back that pretty much said play him as if you're not gonna multicast, and when they come along, think of them like little bonuses. CK is not like that at all. CK is a coin toss between a win and a loss, so let's even the odds. Chaos Knight is the best late game hero, DPS wise, and we're talking in a real game. Not a 3-week marathon where Pudges ended up with 1,000,000 flesh heap stacks and hits for 1,050,000 damage. Damage wise, he's better than Sven, he's better than Medusa, he's better than Ember Spirit, Naga, PL, and yet he's counted by all of them. You pick CK when they pick Huskar, and also when they have no cleave or wave play. In fact, I'd recommend you never pick CK unless it's 2 counters their picks. There are 3 extremely educational games that showcases X Factor. Team Secret vs DC Game 1 of TI6, Fnatic vs DC Game 2 of D6, and just recently, NP vs Alliance Game 2 of Dream League Season 6. Always pick last, always winning. Funnily enough, DC was on the giving end of 2 of those games, and Eternal Envy was the Huskar in 2 of those games. For a guy named Chaos Knight, there seems to be a universal constant at play here. Poor Envy gets beaten the shit out of a lot. For clarity, Chaos Knight destroys single target squishy carries, Clinks, Arc Warden, and Huskar all fit the bill, and considering the Huskar plague I've maybe had a part in spreading, you might want to practice CK. Tier 2 is a single target support, like Bane, and Tier 3 consists of heroes who stay at the back of fights. CK can do some real Book of Revelation shit and run straight through to them if need be. His horse is even named Armageddon, they're not really subtle about it. But the important part is what counters Chaos Knight, and considering it's 90% of the hero pool, I'll generalize. Chaos Knight's DPS comes from his illusions, kill his illusions, you kill his damage. Tier 1 is anyone who can both stun and clear in an AoE. Sand King with Eggs is brutal in that regard, so is Sven, Medusa, Ember Spirit. You'll notice that I mentioned all of them just a second ago. Tier 2 is just a percentage of that sort of thing in a hero with AoE slows, especially attack slows or AoE damage reduction, so Jakiro, Tidehunter, Omni Knight, Phoenix. And Tier 3 is basically just a whole lot more of the same. Oh, and split pushes. He pops his ult, just leave. IO. As with every way to play guide, la-di-do, the ability build looks like this, so everything looks relatively normal and then nothing makes sense. Chaos Bolt's cooldown is a constant 10 and the damage and stun duration are inversely proportional, and although level 1 for example says you can get 1 or 2 seconds, in reality it's any number in the universe between them, and the damage will be the opposite of that. The indicator just rounds to the nearest integer. You wouldn't want this infinite series of decimal points filling the screen. It'd cover up works of art such as this. That got in the game. Reality Rift teleports CK and the target somewhere from 30% to 80% of the distance between the two, meaning you'll usually end up closer to them than to you. The location of Reality Rift is actually decided at the start of casting too. If you're wanting to pull someone away from their tower, give it a few casts until you get a result you're happy with because of the particle effect. If nothing else, it makes the enemy shit themselves. It's loud as hell and imposing as heck. We level it up to level 3 as fast as possible just to get it matching the cooldown of Chaos Bolt, so when one's used, the other can be used thereafter. It also adds on to crits. But then we'd have to pick up a Daedalus or something. We don't have a... Oh, whoa! Chaos Strike, 10% chance to crit. What? Well, technically 2% chance to crit, then 5%, all the way up to 99% after like 10 hits. And if you haven't gotten a crit, then consider putting a skill point in it. And then there's Phantasm. Before I learned to read, I thought it was like the worst spell in the game. It's like Naga's Mirror Image on a 130-second cooldown. This is awful. Then a friend smarter than me told me the illusions deal 100% damage and also travel in the Reality Rift if they're around 1400 range, which is a lot. It also costs 125 mana at level 1, and yet we still get it at level 6. It's a free double damage root, phase shift, and with Arcane Boots we can totally afford it. Oh yeah, you forgot, didn't you? That we go Arcane Boots. As a side note, this is the make or break ability in for the final fights of the game. 50% chance to get your 5 times damage rather than 4 times, and that late into a game, every little bit counts. So I suggest Valve a pseudo RNG buff. Start with 2% chance to spawn a nature illusion, and by the time you get to late game, it's like 90%. This totally makes sense. Instead of with every other Phantasm you get an illusion, with this you only get the one. Haha! Oh, yeah, oh. This is the bit where I have to explain myself. I hate this stage, it never works. I'm slowly coming to terms with the fact that I am going insane. Start off with some tangos, a mango, a shield, and a gauntlet of strength. This will go into your urn in a bit, pretty standard stuff, this is going pretty well. And then we go arcane, okay, never mind. Here's the let me explain stage. Illusions don't benefit from raw bonus damage, armor, and attack speed, among other things, basically translating neither phase, tranks, or treads do anything, and so pretty much we ignore the the illusions entirely, and we just think, what does a CK truly need? And that answer is inarguably mana, but not just mana, specifically a larger mana pool. And even with 200% mana regeneration, at level 11 you have 386 mana, just enough for 1 stun, 1 ult, and 2 reality rifts. With arcane bolts, that nearly doubles. As soon as CK runs out of the mana, the fight's over, and everybody knows it, so every smart player will burn your mana, so let's make sure, you know, you kill them before that happens. And you can also disassemble for your Octarine, but maybe I should let you recover a bit before I talk about that. Following Arcane Boots, pick up a Ring of Health for sustain, finish the urn, and pick up an Echo Sabre. It's pretty much the new drums for melee heroes. With both the Stealth Shield and a Ring of Health, logically swinging over to pick up a Vanguard is smart. Damage block now works on illusions, and regardless, it gives you a massive 250 health for them too. And as I said, alive illusions are imperative. That means important. I could have said important, but I didn't. I said imperative. Why? You might have noticed a distinct lack of Armlet, and this is the most unsure I've ever been about any of these guides that I've written. Armlet is good, it's great even, but Armlet's picked up on heroes that counteract the health drain with lifesteal or crazy regen like Alchemist, or heroes that turn it on, burst a bunch of damage and then turn it off like Kunkka. Is that what CK is? Do you just turn it on to get your illusions the 500 health and 25 strength? You can't keep it on yourself. You're in the middle of these fights. You'd have to be making sure you get every single urn charge possible and have a way out of the fight to heal before coming back in, but I don't know if the positives really outweigh the negatives at this point. So, but post Heart of Tarask, it is the greatest item in the game for you. So I guess decide for yourself when to get it, or if to get it at all. Keep in mind that Armlet's like the top plays maker if you want those internet points. God, CK's got like the beefiest attack sound ever. Just listen to it. I didn't have anywhere that like really I could add that in. It doesn't really fit anywhere. We take CK safe lane, preferably with an aggressive support like Vengeful Spirit or Crystal Maiden, but you guys already know that. You've seen 100,000 CK games before. Pretty much what we're doing is farming until urn and then killing everyone. CK is the hardest carry in the game, but we're not going to get there farming creeps. We farm heroes. In a fight, Reality Rift has a longer range, and we don't want to waste the stun duration on casting it with cast animation, so Rift first, then stun, and you're already able to wail on someone. Early game, try to will your opponents into fighting you near towers. After you kill them, it's less of a commute, and you can tear it down too, with your ult. It's pretty much a straightforward game from here on in. There's no magical trick I'm keeping to win games, just run at them. If you're taking a tier 1 tower while they're taking your ranks, try not to use your ult so you can take it faster and back. Your ult is your life, and that's that. But in reality, in a game like Dota, it's all just like a 50% chance, right? It's a 50-50 shot. Either you win or you lose. But hey, you're playing CK. You really must trust the flip of a coin. This guide's come a long way. This was actually written way back before my only way to play Renaissance with the Medusa guide. It went from mid to support to a roaming build, all the way around to what people already knew from the start, running him as a safe lane carry. For people complaining that my last few guides have been too fast and too loud, I think you'll enjoy the next one. Starting from this episode, all my Patreons will have access to special commentary of an entire game where I use this build. For a good 40 minutes I explain the hows and whys of everything that I do, and maybe I'll say something funny or reveal a deep dark secret at the 30-minute mark. You won't know unless you become a Patreon pledger and watch it. This episode was brought to you by these pledges. Brandon Koo, Christian Rudder, Freekill, Matt Masters, Bill Hunt, The Science Cunt, Pearson Newborn, Hey Wiener Boop, It's Time for Cancer, Urslavik, XZ, Nika the Commie, Jeff Miller, Crystal Feed, Michael Robb, Shadow Sweetheart, Evil Motherfucking Jellyfish, Aaron Tang, Jacob Miller, Caduceus, Hatcrafter27, Anthony Silverstone, Itai Efrat, Noble Chernobyl, Sam Goodberry, Match Green Justice, Mason Lee Mills, Max of S2D, Red, It's Your Boy, Kerrison, Parker Burkowski, Redless, Epica X Edge, Hashtag Yowie is Love, Snuggly Wuggums, Grumpy Bear, Lurd Hibbit, Ninny Bottoms, Milacott, Chestnut, Yavis McGee, Cinderwin, Tsunami Shadow Wing, Martin Thoreau, John Boone, and Rhett Mitchell. Now, I've got to go find some scissors to get ready for the next video.